and it makes you more open-minded. So I'm a guy. It might be a little bit different from women because a lot of the females that I've spoken to, there's not a lot of conversation that goes on in the sauna or in the locker room. But in a guy's sauna, in a guy's locker room, there's a lot of talking going on. So one of the benefits is that you get to talk to people while you're going through this struggle in a sense. And in the sauna, you see people of all different ages, different ethnicities, different races, and it's cool to get a different perspective on their lives, on what they do, why they do it, things like that. And also what I've noticed is very interesting because I used to train in San Diego and I met a handful of you could say, well, to me, they're famous people. I met Dean Lister, I met Jocko Willink, I met Michael Lemire. Some of these are athletes. Jocko Willink is a Marine that has his own podcast. If you haven't ever heard of him, I recommend you reading his books and checking out his podcast. So I got the luxury and benefit of talking to him and, like I said, Dean Lister and some people from the UFC or people that are into MMA. And I've always spent some time with them in the sauna, and I've noticed that they offer a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. So it's a good place to just be able to talk to somebody. Nothing really else you can do there but talk. And sometimes it's a little bit easier to stick out that 30, 20 minutes when you talk to somebody instead of just sitting there quietly and just battling your own demons. But I also recommend you taking those sauna sessions to also focus more on yourself. Do a little bit of each, take some time to just focus on yourself, sitting there for 15, 20 minutes just by yourself with your thoughts, with your intentions. But then on some other days, also get in there and converse. It's always good to have a nice balance between just you but battle your demons and then you also conversing with some people. What I've noticed is that it's almost like being in that agony, in that heat. It's almost like people have their guard a little bit lower or their shield dropped a little bit, because sometimes you have like these intimate and interesting and vulnerable conversations and you learn about what people are going through in their lives. You're learning about their relationships, what their work life is, how their life is at home. For some reason, just you struggling and all your other guys around you or people around you struggling just opens a room or opens the sauna for a little bit more vulnerability, because it's almost like you guys could all relate in some kind of in a sense. Sometimes it's hard to talk to people because you feel like you can't relate to them, but for some reason, being in the sauna and now going through that mental suck, it's almost like you find something to all agree on. And you're obviously all agreeing on being in a sauna and a health benefit, so that is almost like a little bit easier to engage with everybody because you have some similarity. There's some almost like camaraderie in the sauna. And it's always cool to get to speak with people with different backgrounds, especially to older people or just people that are different races, different ethnicities, because you might notice that you guys are all going through the same thing, but in a different way. So it's interesting how they view certain things and how you view certain things. So you all might maybe have the same idea of working hard is the way to the top, for example. And everyone has this idea of working hard to get to the top, but everyone has a subjective view of it. So their objective view is we all agree that working hard gets you to the top, but every individual has a different subjective view of that. Is what is their version of working hard? What is their version of this? What is their version of the top? So that's actually really cool because you could all agree on something, but you agree in a different way. You got to the same conclusion, but in a different way. You also learn a lot from these people in the sense of relationships and making mistakes, because you'll notice that some people might be in the same shoes as you, but their approach to certain things is a little bit different, or that some of the problems or struggles you've had these last couple of years are the same struggles that some people are having currently. And it's almost like you can offer advice so they don't make the same mistakes. And the older people or the older guys, they offer different advice so you don't make future mistakes. So it's almost like a interesting mix of collaboration, because people have been through the same certain situations, but some people have had a negative association with that. Some people had a positive association with that. So breakups, right? You say we've all been through breakups. You get different perspectives about breakups because some people might have went through the same breakup, but some might have gained power from that breakup while others maybe slid into depression. And you kind of figure out what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and aspects like those of where you can maybe not fuck up Or you could also help somebody realize, hey, if you do this, it's going to be bad because you're going to fuck up because that's what I did and I fucked up. So don't do that.